If you're new to our channel, we'd love to have you join our little community. Just hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We promise it will be worth your while.
I work for a large privately held business, and until recently was the manager of a one-man department that responded to technical questions from our customers. It was neither a popular nor prestigious position, so as long as I responded to customers' inquiries promptly and kept complaints to a minimum, I was pretty much left alone by the company muckety-mucks. As the chief cook and bottle washer for my own department, small as it was, I got to hire my own secretary. I found a pretty young lady named Linda to help keep me organized. Initially, it was Linda's job to file, type, and sort the mail. She turned out to be quite competent and was more of an asset than I had ever imagined she would be. I've never been the kind of guy that chases the women in the office. But even if I had been, Linda had quickly made herself far too valuable to me for me to risk losing her by making unwanted advances. I keep my hands and my comments to myself, despite the fact that I found her very attractive. And thanks in large part to her efforts, things in our office ran smoothly. As she learned the ropes, it took her less and less time to complete her duties. Some afternoons, after she had completed her other duties, she would read some of the customer correspondence and my replies. She would ask questions, usually regarding the technical aspects of what she had read, and I would explain them to her. I knew that she was more than just a pretty face when I hired her, and it was reflected in the insightful questions that she asked. I've always hated bosses that get ahead by keeping someone else down. I believe it is management's responsibility to help their employees reach their maximum potential. For that reason, I did my best to educate her regarding our technology. As she developed a better understanding of our products, I began letting her compose answers to our customers' questions, which I would then critique. She had a real knack for composition and usually managed to complete several replies a day. She enjoyed doing them and was often faster than I. I guess it's the sign of a nerd, but I enjoyed the technical part of my job and hated the interpersonal parts, like dealing with people I didn't know. When I saw how much Linda enjoyed doing them, I began letting her do more and more of the correspondence. Then I would proofread them for technical accuracy prior to sending them. She'd been working with me for over a year when the Thanksgiving holiday came around. I knew by then I did not have to worry about leaving the office in her hands, so I took the Wednesday before Thanksgiving and the Friday after to spend the holiday with relatives. I returned home Friday evening to find a message from Linda on my answering machine. I called her back and she informed me that during my absence, some work had piled up in the office. She suggested if I wasn't opposed to going in for a while on Saturday, we might get the bulk of the work done and not have it hanging over our heads. We went in on Monday morning. My weekend was open, and she's a fun person and entertaining to work with, so I agreed. I was pretty sure that the Monday after a long holiday weekend would be crazy enough without the prospect of a huge pile of leftover work. I went in and opened up around 10 o'clock. And she showed up shortly thereafter. I had the forethought to bring coffee, and when I saw that she had brought blueberry muffins, I knew things were going to be all right. We ate muffins and drank coffee as we organized our tasks. Everything was fine until she tried to start her computer. It wouldn't even boot up. She was pretty pissed and told me that the guys in IT had promised her they would fix it Friday night. "You know," she informed me, "most of what you see here is because my computer was out." We wouldn't need to be here if you had trusted me with your password." She looked at me with the strangest look in her eye. "How about if I do the correspondence on your computer? You don't mind, do you?" She was using the voice she uses when she wants to go home early or take a day off. She knows I'm a sucker for that sweet little girl thing she does. "And what am I supposed to do while you're in there playing on my computer?" "Well, oh God," she had that voice on again. "We could trade places. While I'm in there doing your job, you could sit at my desk and pretend to be me for the day. You could be my dog's body for a change, get my coffee, do my filing for me. You can just do whatever I tell you to while I'm sitting in the nice, comfortable chair at the nice big desk in the nice inter-office writing letters. Maybe I'll even gab with my friends on the phone, like you usually do all day. I don't know. It sounds kind of weird," I replied. "I mean, I don't even know how you take your coffee, and how can you expect me to do the filing when I don't even know the whole alphabet?" "Oh, come on, I know, I just thought of a way we can make it more fun." She stepped over to the filing cabinet and took down the shoebox on top of it. "I ordered these on the internet, but they were sent the wrong size. So I have to send them back. Since you'll be my secretary for the day, I'll let you wear them. They're just like my sexy black ones you always stare at. If you think they're sexy when I wear them, you really need to feel how sexy it is to wear them yourself. I have to admit, I've always wondered how you manage to walk around in those, but I'm not sure I'm curious enough to wear them. Is this a setup?" Leading me by the hand, we proceeded to her chair where she pushed me backwards until I fell into it. I only brought them into work so that I could have shipping and receiving send them back on Monday morning. Still, it would be fun to hear you walking around in them while you do the filing. She knelt at my feet and pulled my shoes and socks off. Then she kicked off the sneakers that she wears on her way into the office. And, still in her footies, she stepped into my shoes, literally and figuratively. She pulled open the bottom drawer of her desk and took out a pair of knee-high nylons, which she handed me. "Go ahead and give them a try," she suggested. "I'll be in my office working on my correspondence. If there's anything else you need, just knock. And Linda? When you are through dealing with your fashion issues, another cup of coffee would really be great." "Yes, Mr. Jenkins?" I joked back, calling her by my name since she called me by hers. As I sat there with her nylons in my hands, staring at the heels in the box, she said imperiously, "Well, get going," stepped into my office and closed the door. Confused, but recognizing the jocular nature of our interchange, I decided to humor her. I could at least get her some coffee. When it was ready, I knocked before I opened her office door, like she does when it's my office, and took her coffee. "You haven't even tried them on? From the way you stare at mine, I figured you'd be wild for it." "Be wild for them? Go ahead and indulge. It's just us girls here. And roll your pants up to the knee so I see what you think is so sexy." I sat back down at her desk and tried to put them on as she watched me through the doorway. "You'll never get them on without the nylons," she offered. "They won't bite, really." She sipped her coffee as she watched me. "Good coffee, by the way, Linda." "Thank you, Mr. Jenkins," I replied, as I put on one of the nylons. Once I had it on, my foot slipped right into the shoe. I put on the other stocking and high heels and tried to stand up, nearly falling on my face. They were probably 4 inches high. "Don't worry, you will catch on in no time," They look very pretty, by the way. Once you finish the filing, you can tell me if the shoe is still as sexy on the other foot, so to speak. She laughed and resumed her work. There was a large pile of documents to be filed. So I started the filing. Things went pretty rapidly, and we worked away, joking, kidding, using each other's names, and doing all the things the other usually did. At one point, she called me into her office and asked me to stand by her chair. Reaching down, she grabbed my pants cuffs, already rolled up to my knees, and clipped them together with a large bindery clip. Okay, walk out the door and back, and let me see if that helps. As I started to step away from her desk, I realized that my stride was severely limited, as if I were wearing one of those tight skirts she sometimes wears. I ended up with an entirely different motion as I swivel my hips in an attempt to get some of my stride back. She clapped her hands in glee, telling me that was more like it, and to get back to work. It was actually sort of fun doing her job. I hammed it up, acting like a ditz and making her tell me every detail of every little thing that she wanted me to do. It was fun, not having to make any decisions. Not that I had to make so many important decisions on a normal day, but it was nice to spend the day without having to worry about anything. She, on the other hand, only got up from her desk to recycle her coffee and must have answered 20 pieces of correspondence by the time we left at 2 o'clock. "We'll have to do this again," she stated as we headed out to our cars. "I really enjoyed having you at my beck and call, Linda." We both laughed. "Well, you were right about the shoes being fun and sexy, but they're not the most comfortable thing in the world," I conceded. "I'm sorry," she said. If I had known who was going to end up wearing them, I'd have ordered them with a lower heel. What do you say we do again next Saturday? We could take advantage of that flex time the company brags about and just be decadent Friday. If we leave early, we can enjoy our Friday night. And when we come in Saturday, we can do the correspondence and filing that piled up. What do you say? When I get in on Monday, I'll have my secretary check my schedule," I teased. It seemed like harmless fun, and I did enjoy working with her. But let's not order a new nameplate for the office door just yet. It was nice arriving to clear off desktops Monday morning, and things went pretty much as usual, at least until Friday. True to her word, all Linda did on Friday, all day long, was horse around. She took the shoebox out of the filing cabinet and placed it on her desk in plain sight. "Just getting ready," she advised me with a grin. "If anyone asks, I'll just tell them I'm sending them back." She offered to pay if I would go pick up lunch for us. "What? Do I already look like a secretary to you?" I asked, feigning shock. "No, right now you look like the boss." She teased, "But if you wait until tomorrow when I'm the boss, I'm going to send you out for sandwiches in your patent leather high heels." "Come on," I replied. "Did I ever make you go pick up lunch when you didn't want to?" "No," she replied with a grin. "But you're a big softie. Things are going to be different around here when I'm the boss." "Well, Mr. Jenkins, I suppose you're going to make me place the order too." "You never had a problem placing it before, Linda, or picking it up either. I saw the menu on your desk with the phone number on it. I'll take my usual and get whatever you want for yourself." For some reason, every time she addressed me as Linda, a little tremor of excitement went through my body. I had never entertained a desire to be her or any other woman for that matter. But for some reason, the thought of trading places was somehow exciting to me. I thought about it some more on the walk over to the deli, and realized that her being in control also gave me a shiver of erotic excitement. As the afternoon wore on, the thought of me working for her tomorrow was growing more and more attractive. Lunch was uneventful, and we decided to leave the office around 2 o'clock. As we headed out to our cars, she said to me, "Boss brings the coffee, secretary brings the donuts." Oh, and if I am going to be the boss tomorrow, I'll need your door key. "Deal," I said, taking the key from my ring and passing it to her. Giving her my key reminded me of the transfer of command ceremonies when I was in the military. "And wear your blue pinstriped suit tomorrow. I have something fun planned." My car chirped back at me when I pressed the remote entry button, and we got into our cars. Here's a cute little yellow Volkswagen Beetle. Mine, a BMW. When I arrived at the office Saturday morning, there was already a steaming cup of coffee waiting on my desk. I guess you could call it my desk, since I had pretty much agreed to be her secretary again. Like the last time, we sipped our coffee and ate our treats before we started. "Okay," she said, as I finished my second chocolate-covered donut. "That's enough of that. One of the secretary's most important assets is her girlish figure. It's time for you to get to work anyway." We were both wearing our blue pinstriped suits, mine with pants, and hers with a skirt. As we hung our coats up on the rack by the door, I was surprised to see that her demure-looking blouse with long sleeves and ruffled lace cuffs, and a long collar tied in a bow, was nearly transparent. The very lacy white bra, clearly visible through the sheer blouse, supported what could only be described as a fine rack. It was not her usual style, and all in all, it was a very sexy look. "You like?" she asked when she saw me ogling her. "You've got to be kidding, Mr. Jenkins." I teased, "You are the sexiest man I have ever worked for." "Have a seat," she said, leading me to her office chair. "Let's see if we can't make your appearance a little more appropriate for your new position." I was calm and relaxed, and was almost feeling indifferent. As she reached up and began to remove my red tie, I just sat there, watching her beautifully manicured hands work. Next, she began unbuttoning my baby blue dress shirt. "This does not look secretarial in the least," she commented, pulling out my shirt tails and then removing my shirt completely. "Right back," she said, scurrying into my former office. It seemed like it was only seconds before she returned wearing my shirt and tie and carrying that virtually transparent blouse. Her fine bust in that her beautiful bra was no longer visible, and I thought, in my befuddled bemusement, that I really wished I had worn a see-through shirt too. Stepping behind me, she said, "Arms up," as if she were dressing a child. She started my hands into the sleeves and slid the blouse down my raised arms. "Very good," she said, as she stepped around in front of me and gently pulled my arms back down. It was only when she pulled the straps of her bra around behind me and fastened the clasps that I realized while she had put the shoulder straps of the bra over my arms, at the same time, she slid them into the sleeves of her blouse. "You look nice in white," she told me, as she buttoned the blouse up the back. I must have been too interested in the scenery to notice there weren't any visible buttons. "I don't know about this," I said, looking down at her bra, now clearly visible through my sheer blouse. The rapid rate at which things were happening was overwhelming my somewhat befuddled mind. "What's the problem? You're obviously enjoying this." She was looking down at the bulge in my trousers. "Do you feel guilty? Enjoying something so naughty? We can pretend I'm forcing you if it will help you deal with your guilt." Admittedly, I was enjoying it. There was no denying my throbbing trouser snake. But for the life of me, I couldn't understand the way I was feeling. Despite the erotic feelings, I felt relaxed and unconcerned. More relaxed and unconcerned than I thought I should be. I felt totally passive and couldn't seem to get very worked up about the things she was doing.
"Okay," I agreed. "You're the boss."
She went to the cabinet with the shipping supplies, returning with a roll of clear 2-inch packing tape. She slid the sleeves of the blouse up a little and used several wraps of tape to secure each of my wrists to the armrests of her chair. I pretended to struggle and said,
No, Mr. Bill?
"Is that better?" she asked when she stopped laughing. "Now that I have you at my mercy, and there's nothing you can do about it, I'll just go ahead and do something about your totally unprofessional-looking nails." She was reaching into her desk drawer, and her hand came out with a small bottle of bright red fingernail polish. I felt another inexplicable little sexual zing. I sat there watching her paint my nails. I was totally aroused by the way she was acting, and although I can't say I was completely comfortable with how things were developing, I didn't fight it. She apparently tuned into my discomfort. "It's okay, sweetie," she reassured me, patting me on the back of my hand. "Having pretty nails is one of the fun parts of being a secretary. Besides, there's no use getting upset about things you have no control over, so just relax and enjoy your first manicure. It's your first, isn't it, Linda?" "Yes, it is." "Oh, why are you doing this to me, Mr. Jenkins?" I said, ad-libbing the heroine being tied to the railroad tracks. "Well, Linda, I insist that all the girls in my office have as feminine a presentation as possible," she explained. "Not just polished fingernails, but lipstick and proper eye makeup too." "Oh, Mr. Jenkins, that sounds like sexual harassment to me. How could you?" "It's not sexual harassment. As the boss, it's my responsibility to make sure that my secretary complies with the employee dress code," she assured me. Nothing reflects on the boss more than the appearance of her support staff. Once she finished painting, she reached up and tied the floppy bow at my neck. "Now that's more like it," she said as she pursued her work. "Whoops," she said as she reached down and removed my shoes and socks. "I almost forgot your toenails. Let's get those awful man pants out of the way." She had already unbuckled my belt to pull out my shirt tails. Now she undid the catch at my waist and lowered my zipper. "Lift your butt a little, Linda, sir," she said, pulling my pants and boxers off in one swift motion when I did. She pushed my rolling chair back a little, lifted my feet up onto the blotter on top of her desk, sat in my lap straddling my legs, and proceeded to polish my toenails too. When they were done to her satisfaction, she took my shoes, socks, and pants and headed into my former office again. "Just cool your heels for a while your polish dries," she directed. "I have work to do, but I'll be back." "Yes, Mr. Jenkins," I replied submissively. Taped half naked to my secretary's chair, I felt totally helpless. At the same time, I had to admit that her at my helplessness was very erotic. The weekend before, I had just schlepped around the office following instructions, without a care. Now my secretary was definitely adding to the erotic tension, dressing me in her things. Was I really some sort of submissive? I couldn't understand my feelings of complacency as I sat there strapped me to her chair, looking at my newly painted nails. Despite the decidedly unmanly things she was doing to me, I had allowed her to continue. It just seemed easier to go along with her. I wondered if this was how a secretary normally felt. I had never really thought about what it felt like to be a secretary before. Of course, I'd never had any reason to. I mean, the previous Saturday I worked around the office following someone else's instructions. But it was just a fun opportunity to work in a carefree environment. Somehow, this seemed totally different. Somewhere in the back of my mind, the thought began to form that maybe I wasn't fighting it because I really wanted to be. Or maybe I was supposed to be a secretary. I just sat there like a blob until she returned 20 minutes later. "Are we all ready to finish getting dressed?" she asked. "Is that a rhetorical question?" I replied, once again pretending to struggle with my taped wrists. "That depends. Aren't your nails beautiful?" "Yes," I admitted. "I was hoping that while you were sitting here admiring your manicure and pedicure, you might admit to yourself how much you really want to be my secretary. Is your inner sissy ready to come out and play? Or do you need to keep pretending you are being forced?" "I don't know," I admitted. She sighed and picked up the roll of tape. My eyes were drawn once again to my brightly painted toes as I watched her bind my ankles together tightly with several wraps of tape. She pulled my legs off the desk and down under my chair and taped my ankles to the center post, as easily as if she had done it 100 times before. "I can't keep interrupting my work for this kind of silliness. I'll give you half an hour to think about it." Wait, I pleaded. "No more pretending. The only thing I want in life is to be your sissy secretary. Please." It may not have been the only thing I wanted, but there was no question. This concludes part 1 of this story. To get early access to the next part, either become a YouTube member or become a Patreon member to listen to these stories without any ads. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next part of this story.